Hello. Hi. Welcome to Emerge and Soar Beginners Course. My name is Kusine Kanem. Some of you already know me. In this course, we have so much we're talking about. But before I dive into talking about what we will be talking about in this course, I want to share a little about myself. Like you have already known, my name is Kusine Kanem, and I'm a church girl whose marriage had issues and which marriage ended, obviously. And I I've been a dedicated Christian, a dedicated child of God all through my teenage world. I'm that kind of child that or teenager then that if there's a church Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I am in church Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And fast forward to when I got married, and I was so sure that God wanted me to marry this person. I was so convinced that I've hit the jackpot until I found out that I carry fork and chook inside God pot and still remove bone and eat. That story is for another day. So after so much pain and hurt in my marriage, lasting till when my marriage ended, with the tongue lashing from church. Let me tell you one thing that happened was I lost a whole lot of friends. I went into well I say depression, isolation, loneliness, excitement, relief. I had a whole rush of different emotions. My marriage ended twice. It ended the first time I went back to prove that it was going to work, and then it went finally off when he obviously packed and left. So, but the difference is that the first time I left my marriage, it was not in God. Like what I mean is that I still knew God, but I was so angry with God. I was so angry with God in the sense that I stopped going to church. I stopped believing in God's principles. In fact, I got to a point where I say, if I want to marry again, I'll just marry an unbeliever, and I know that I'm marrying an unbeliever. And I got so angry with God about the fact that I felt like I've served you all my life. I've been there. I've done everything you said. How come you still give me this kind of person or this kind of stress? And what that did is that it removed the responsibility from me, you know, accessing my state of mind that made me make the kind of mistakes and, you know, move for over the red flags I saw, to now focusing all my anger and hurts in God, to God rather. I stopped going to church and all that. But by the second time the marriage had issues, baby, I was back in God. I built my relationship with God. I was so solid. I was not as lonely as before. I did not make the mistakes I made before. In fact, I was much more rooted in God. I didn't stop church. My prayer life intensified. My word study life intensified. My relationship with God intensified. And I was even a better person by the second time because I had understood what it was like. But most importantly, the second time is I just wanted to live a very private and simple life. And then God said, no, I want you to be able to talk to other women, share with other women how you've been able to still relate with me and still build this kind of relationship with me being despite your challenges. And I've had a lot of women that come and say, how do you still pray? How are you calm? How are you talking to your children about these things? And the fact is that I always used to tell women that up to date, my children have never heard me say one negative thing about their father. I have never abused him in front of them. I've never cursed him. I've never even tried. I have just had a level of peace that I didn't have before. And God was like, it is time to tell other women, to teach other women, especially in the African setting. We don't have coaching programs, especially for Christian women, just designed for Christian women that are going through this divorce. I didn't want to do it because obviously it's something that is a controversial topic, and I just wanted to live a quiet life. I just wanted to live a quiet life and do my master's or do my PhD and move with my life and all that. But it was so pressing, and I had to now start the Pesha Shein group. A lot of persons have come to say, what's the meaning of Pesha Shein? Now, Pesha Shein is from the Bible and the book of Numbers, chapter 9, thereabout. The children of Israel, most of them missed the Passover. They were supposed to go for Passover. Some of them were unclean, filthy. They had people that they have just buried dead bodies. So many reasons. They all had different kind of excuses as to why they could not do the first Passover. And they now came to Moses and asked Moses that we have missed the first Passover. How? But we want to still serve God. We still want to do our own Passover. So does it mean that if we miss the first Passover, there's no second Passover for us? Moses told them, hold on, I'm going to talk to God about it. And Moses went and talked to the Lord about it. And Moses went and talked to the Lord about it, and the Lord said, I will give them a second Passover, and that is Pesha Shein. If you pick this word and Google it, you would see it. The Jews still celebrate it till date, a second Passover, exactly a month after the first Passover. Now, the beauty about this particular redemptive reconciliation pattern that God have done is that they are to do the second Passover exactly in the model of the first Passover. And that's where I got the name Pesha Shein about. It's called second Passover. So if your marriage have crashed, it is time for God to say, I'm giving you a new start, a better start, a starting all over. And when we say starting all over, it's not just about resettling in our marriage, in our next marriage, but it's about coming up better, starting all over in your emotions, in your finances, in your identity of yourself. The Bible says in the book of First Peter chapter 5, verse 10, he said, after you've suffered a while, have you suffered a while in your first marriage? After you've suffered a while, did you suffer a while in your other relationship? He said, I will make you perfect, establish you, settle you. It is time to establish, it's time to settle. So this is a preparatory stage. This is a reconciliation time, is a spiritual awakening platform. And because of that, God have laid in my heart practical things I need to teach, practical things I need to say, the events and the gathering. We are not just the way other people are and just teaching some few courses. This is a gathering of women for spiritual awakening, women that have gone through this. God wants to use your pain for his gain. He wants to use your pain for his glory. He wants to use your pain to refurnish you, to make you better, to make you stronger, to build emotional resilience. And that's what Pesha Shein is about. So I have a coaching program that I coach women in a much more cycle group, but it's always there are different cohorts and it only lasts for 3 months, but we extend it to 6 months. And I only take maximum of 30 women because those are women I can handle. I can't handle more than that. So I can hold their hands and call them, say, we had said we are doing this, where are you in your plan and all that. So when I had that and I was just building people for that, the Lord said there have to be a foundational class. And when God told me about the foundational class, I thought like it's like all these believers classes we have in church and tell you come and join the Lord and all that. He said, no, a woman that have just gone through divorce, separation, a single mom in me, what is the first word they need to hear? And he said, that is it. And it should be almost free. And that's where these foundational classes started. And that's how the foundational classes started. The foundational class, it's a, like I said, foundation, a basis, it's compulsory. If you're a Christian woman in the African setting that have gone through divorce, separation, you have to take this course. It talks in this course, we'll talk about how to accept and acknowledge the change that have happened. How does this change affect you, affect your finances, your relationship with others, your spiritual life, your emotional life? On all around, we'll talk about in depth. How do we see these changes and how do we acknowledge these changes and what do we do as our life is changes? Because divorce, separation, single motherhood brings a lot of changes, especially for the Christian system. We have to be ready. We have to be equipped with the right knowledge to handle this change. Number two, in this course, we'll talk about how do you embrace your emotions? What are the different emotions that you're expected that your body will, show forth? How do you embrace these emotions? How do you accept these emotions? How do you get comfortable with these emotions? So we talk about embracing your emotions, the kind of emotions, and how to deal with them and what to expect as you journey through healing. And the next model we'll talk about how do you find strength in God. Your marriage have ended, your relationship with God should not end. I always say, and that's God's word. He said, tell them I am more interested in their salvation than in their salvation and my relationship with them than their marital status. God is more interested in your salvation. So how do you build faith in God? This is not the time whether the church have said cast you away or said anything to you, or people have badmouthed you and all that gossip. This is not the time to do the way I did before, run away from God. No, this is the time to run to your Father. You're like a child that have been beaten, run to your Father. And that's where the crusade that we always do, that is calling crusades that we do all over in Nigeria and in other African countries. That's where the name came up from. He said, tell them that I am calling them. That is calling. Tell them to come and cry to me. You know how somebody will beat your child outside and the child is crying and returning. But imagine, your child, somebody beats them, the child is crying and going out to meet another stranger. No, we are not that kind of child. We are a child of God.